Geez, Fuzz. Hope Rob Halford shows up. What do you think? You think he's going to show up?
I think so.
He'll be here, right? If not, we have all this extravagant flames and everything going.
That's right. How can you resist Kevin Stone? I mean,
yeah, I guess we're going to roll the blooper reel before we actually roll the interview, if it happens, if he's going to be here.
Yeah, right.
This is the big surprise.
He'll be here, man. We're on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers.
That's right.
They're not going to catch us. We're on a mission from God.
Breaking the what? Lalo, you got it.
Hey, this is Ralph Renna, 93.9 WABY, 90s and 2000s rock. Tonight, we're really breaking the rules. We're going back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. And if I was going to have an interview for the first time, it would have to be the metal gob, Rob Halford from Judas Priest himself. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. Wow. That's really cool. I got lasers going on behind me.
Whoa.
This is really cool, guys. I'm so pleased to be with you. Congratulations, Ralph, on your first interview.
And it's you.
I'm
and it's
happy
you,
and
man.
to be here.
It's
Hello,
you, man.
Fuzz. I can see you, Fuzz.
Good to
Now,
see you too, sir.
You were in Florida yesterday for Rockville. Is that correct?
Oh my God, yeah.
Tell us about that. Let's just start right there.
Okay, let's start by saying that we went on stage and it was 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It was roasting. It was roasting. I tell you, for whatever reason, everything went, in Spinal Tap, you get to 11.
Yeah.
Everything went to 12.
There it is. There it is.
I tell you, here's the deal. When you go, we landed on the plane, and as we landed on the plane, we could see the stadium. I've never been to Daytona in my life into the raceway. I love all that world. It's so exciting. So then they take us by shuttle to the festival, and the cool thing is you actually drive on the racetrack. Because the festival site is inside the actual.
It's in a racetrack. Yeah.
So you're actually on the racetrack, man. You're going along where all these incredible NASCAR riders have driven through the history of NASCAR.
Are you a fan of race cars?
Yeah, in so much as it's an incredibly exciting, dangerous, loud profession.
Yeah.
I have much respect for those drivers because it takes enormous skill to do what they do. So anyway, we're on the racetrack, going around to the entrance to the festival, and we get inside. There was AC in the trailer, but
you must still have all your heavy metal leather gear on in 90-degree weather, and mostly concrete is what I hear is going on down there.
You gotta, wow. Judas Priest has been making heavy metal for over 50 years.
Yes.
And we have a reputation and we have a responsibility that we think about all the time. So what I'm thinking about is all those metal maniacs that are standing in that boiling sun,
Right.
And I just saw some footage on social media where these literally fire hoses, spraying everybody down. And that's what's so beautiful about your fans, man. You got nothing without your fans.
Yeah.
Your fans give you the life, right? Whether you're on the radio, whether you're on stage, without your fans, you got nothing. So I'm thinking about these beautiful fans that were just roasting outside. And then I'm putting on all the whips and the leather and the chains and the studs. And
here's some more sweaty stuff for you.
Yeah, I'm sweating before I even leave the trailer.
Right.
But we went up to that stage and it was just awesome. It was great. A great crowd of people. So many great bands. So many of my friends were playing there. Really memorable 3-day event. Danny Wimmer's worked really hard to make this a very prestigious event. And he really looks after his artists.
Very
and
good.
The fans are taken care of too.
I'm starting to see.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
I'm starting to see that these festivals that exist only in Europe, and I'm sure you've played many of them, are starting to happen here more in the United States, which is awesome. New York, we're trying to do the same thing here. But have you ever found yourself on one of those festivals where there's just, I mean, there's Dolly Parton, then there's Judas Priest, and then there is Slayer, and then there is Run DMC or whatever. They do multi-genre, and I'm starting to see that multi-genre thing. Was there any bands like that you didn't expect to play with yesterday at Rockville?
That's a great question, Ralph. What it makes me think of is a very famous festival in Scandinavia, and the name will not come into my brain. But
it's a Scandinavian festival.
Scandinavian festival.
There it is.
And they mix it up.
Yep.
They mix it up, right? So we go to the backstage enclosure, and there's lots of tables and chairs and stuff.
Yep.
And there's a guy sitting over there eating some soup, and I'm going, oh my God, that's Neil. You know, God, what is wrong with my brain today? One of the greatest singer-songwriters ever. Neil
Diamond.
What?
Neil Diamond?
No, not that. No, the other Neil.
Neil Young?
Neil Young.
Neil Young. Okay. I don't know why I'm thinking of Neil Diamond interviewing. Maybe it's because of you and Diamonds and Rust. That's why it's a Judas Priest reference. So go ahead. So you meet Neil Young at a festival.
Amazing. So I go over, he goes, hey, Neil. And he goes, hey, Rob. He knew who I was. I'm like, oh, my God, he knows who I am. So here's the deal. We play our set. Neil Young's on the side, headbanging to Breaking the Law of Metal Gods.
Yes. Very good.
And
Neil's got some heavy tunes.
He said, what I'm trying to say is this is the beauty and the joy of some of those festivals.
Yep.
That particular festival in Scandinavia, they really mix it up. You wouldn't think it's going to work,
right?
But it does. Right. So yeah,
awesome.
Also, without a doubt, American festivals have just really elevated. They're at a great place now. They're really well put together. Danny Wimmer, again, I can't say enough about him because he's worked hard to make these festivals as powerful and as potent as they are.
Yeah, see, you're playing a lot of the festivals more than getting back on your tour. I got a couple questions from 93.9 WABY listeners. Tom Atkins wants to know, what type of vocal exercises do you do before you hit the stage? Do you do some type of warm-up?
Yeah, I usually sing along with Ronnie.
Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, I usually sing along with Ronnie. He makes me feel good.
And that's like every show you'll turn on Dio, or Dio with Sabbath or something like that? And what particular song is it that you hit those notes with Ronnie and you feel like you're singing with him and bringing him back with us?
I got one of his The Beast of Ronnie Dio. It's like a collection of his songs.
Very good.
And it's just a great motivator for me as a singer. So I do a little bit of limbering up with Ronnie as I'm transforming. But besides that, I really don't do anything, you know. Lots of hydration.
Gotcha.
H2O,
especially when in hot 90-degree concrete soaked heat weather in Florida. I'm gonna pass the mic over to Fuzz because I know he's got a question. Go ahead, Fuzz. Producer Fuzz for That Fuzzing Rock Show here. What's your question for Rob Halford?
So, Rob, you guys have recorded 19 studio albums now, going all the way back to 74 with Rock-a-Rolla. When you guys go into the studio to write music, how long does it usually take you guys to write the album? And has your writing process changed from the Rock-a-Rolla days up until the new one, the Invincible Shield?
A lot of the work is done already. Fuzz, before we go into the studio, we're very efficient. We like to work in the studio. We don't like to sit around trying to think of words and riffs and stuff. A lot of that work is done in advance. We do a lot of prepping with each other. We demo. We make sure we've got all of the necessary components. Admittedly, when you're in the studio, when you start to actually record it live and it's coming back through the speakers like you hope it will, then there are additional exciting moments that happen. But the bulk of the work is done beforehand. Like when I did all the writing for Invincible Shield from my part, the lyrics and melodies at my home in Phoenix in Arizona. And so when Andy Sneap and Richie came to the studio that I work with, Premier Sound in Phoenix, I know what I'm going to do. So all I do then is get behind the mic and do a take, and Andy Sneap goes, "Do it again."
Do it again.
I do it again. Was that good enough?
Good.
No. Do it again. And the actual recording process happens pretty quickly with us, as I said, because all the prepping is done in advance.
Mhm.
But it's still an exciting place, you know, because you're hearing your ideas and your rough bits and pieces like a jigsaw puzzle. You're hearing that manifested and real. It's coming into the real world, and it's tremendously exciting, you know, especially when you think, as you pointed out, Fuzz, that this is our 19th studio album, and this year is 50 years to the year since we released Rock-a-Roller in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nuts!
Wow.
Is that? You know, it's crazy.
Now, there are very few heavy metal bands, and I'm coming straight off, a bio that was sent to me, that scale the heights that Judas Priest did in the 50 plus years. Firepower, after all those years, was your highest charting album. And being a metal band, I think the metal scene always supported the bands versus how they charted or how many times they were played on the radio, because there's very little metal and hard rock played on the radio these days. And that's what we do different. Grammy Award winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, started in 1969. So I'm going to bounce it back to another listener. My wife, she said, wow, we were just talking before. I'm going to interview Rob Halford. She's like, he started in 1969. Just think of the bands that he was excited that many years ago to open up for. So now I'm going to go way back to when Priest was first started. What was that first big band that you got to open up for, that you looked up to and you were like, I can't believe I'm even standing on stage with these people?
Well, that's a great question, Ralph. It makes me think of the very first American tour that we did, which I think was 76, 78. Now, the only other metal band that was making headway slowly but surely and bringing the metal sound to America was Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath was already putting down the groundwork for this music. It wasn't getting played on the radio then, you know. So here's the thing. Judas Priest goes on tour, and his support to REO Speedwagon.
Oh my.
Foghat.
Oh yeah.
Head East.
Wow.
Frank Marino, that was a great tour. The great Frank Marino.
Okay.
38 Special. Molly Hatchet. So you can imagine the crowd when we walk out and we start to play Victim of Change.
Right. Right. So the term
Foghat.
heavy metal was really just starting to be born then, and bands like Judas Priest and Black Sabbath were kind of the innovators, as far as I'm concerned. Would you agree, Fuzz?
I admit, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Middle.
And it must be weird. And I see that, and I was going to ask you this question, but as soon as you popped on, Rob, I saw that your name was Metal God, and I'm like, no, he takes that, because I was going to say you're a called an icon. You got fans fanning out on you. Fuzz and I are really restraining ourselves right now, by the way. How do you accept that? Living legend, icon, inventor of heavy metal, Metal God.
It's all words.
They're all words, right?
It's all words. No, it's all words, but words are powerful. Words can do incredible things, both constructively and destructively, depending on whose mouth they're coming out of.
Absolutely. Especially with the internet.
Don't get me started. I take this job, this profession that I do, I balance it out. I love it to death. I'd like to think I'm a funny guy. We have so many laughs in this band. It's just a joy. But we never lose sight of the responsibility that we have to our fans. And we never lose sight of the important, quite serious aspects of what it's like to be a fan of the band that you love so much.
Right.
That you play their music every day, that you listen to them on WABY. You know, you're tuning in, you're getting your Priest fix, and how much your music is getting fans through difficult times or helping fans celebrate glorious times. You think about this stuff, the longer you're in the music profession, you realize that, again, as I keep repeating myself, your fans are your lifeblood. Your fans are the reason that we're still here, you know.
There it is.
And
Well, you're
that's
going to
what
be
it
coming
is.
to town. You're going to be coming to town here in Albany to the MVP Arena. This is a place that you had visited last year on your 50th anniversary tour, now coming through on the Invincible Shield Tour with Sabaton. How much of a hand do you or any of the other guys in the band actually have in picking the bands that are opening up? Is it more of a business thing and you're like, yeah, that sounds cool, let's take that band out? Or, you know, and then we'll get into maybe what your preferences are on music, and we'll talk about Invincible Shield a little bit.
Yeah, we work with bands that we have a connection with. Sabaton, a tremendous band. They're extraordinary because they've carved out their own niche. There is no other band like Sabaton. They work very hard to present something that's special to themselves and to their fans. So everybody get down early and see them because they're a great band.
Absolutely.
Wonderful people, wonderful guys, great.
All right,
crew.
we're going to try something. We're going to try something now, Rob. Fuzz has got something he does here on the show called, what is it, like a rapid fire question, rapid fire answer. So maybe not so much of an elaborate answer. Go ahead, Fuzz, fire away.
Yeah, I do. It's a rapid fire 5 questions, but I changed it to rapid fire power 5 questions.
There it is.
I had to do it. So it's 5 questions real quick. Just give me a quick answer as quick as you can on the question. So the first one is, do you remember what the name of your first band ever was?
Oh, Lord.
Talk.
Athens Wood.
Yes. Okay.
How about the first gig you ever played?
That was like just a little pub, a little bar with about 3 people in it. Yes. in England.
Do you remember the number of the biggest crowd you've ever performed for worldwide?
Collectively at the Oz Festival, which I think was in excess of 300,000 people.
Yeah.
Fourth one is one album that you could not live without. This one's tough.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Don't say Neil Diamond.
For a Priest album, I would say Sad Wings of Destiny, because I think that's the kind of blueprint for heavy metal.
It's one of my favorites, by the way, too. And the final one is your biggest onstage oops. Do you remember what that was?
Oopsie. Well, Oopsie. I fell off the motorbike so many times. There's a lot of oops there, you know.
I got to cross that question off the list. Have you ever fallen off the bike?
Yeah.
Okay. That wasn't a question. All right, Fuzz. That was good. That's some rapid fire. All right. So Fuzz had Richie on the show last year. And man, what a great interview. And I was like, this kid is amazing. Rob has really found someone. And it sounds like you have a hell of a writing partner, too. How much is he contributing to the band? And what went into the process, because I just listened to the whole record finally the past week. I've been listening to it. I'm like, wow, this is great. This is great. And I have a confession to make. I have never in my 53 years have ever seen Judas Priest, and I'm finally going on May 21st. You're a bucket list there, and we share a birthday. So happy birthday come our birthday.
That's fantastic.
I think of you on my birthday, Rob.
That's fantastic.
So talk about Richie and Invincible Shield.
Well, firstly, thank God that he's still with us after his accident on stage at Louder Than Life, where he had the burst aorta. I'm sure he spoke about that. It's a blessing that he's still with us. 3% of people, barely 3% of people survive. So the Lord was looking after him that night.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just been amazing to watch this guy go from that first tour that we did to go from he looks like a kid. Look, pictures, the first photos, the first shows that he did.
Very Randy Road reminiscent for me when I look and see him play.
Yeah.
That's a very nice thing to say, Ralph.
Absolutely.
He loves Randy Rhoads. He worships Randy Rhoads. A lot of guitar players. He's a legend. Randy's a legend. What he did for the guitar, he was a game changer, much like Dimebag Darrell, you know. But anyway, so to see Richie blossom, if that's the word, and grow and become so experienced and talented since the first chops that he put down on Firepower to where we are now with Invincible Shield, it's an enormous leap. It's like gone across the Grand Canyon of metal in his musicianship and his writing skills.
Right.
So I can't speak enough about the guy. I love him to death, and he's just playing his heart out. Well, I'm so excited for you to come see us.
We're real excited.
He's on fire. He's just incredible to watch.
Okay, I guess let me see. Let me just pause for a second here and just look at what I haven't asked you real quick, if we do have a few moments. Okay, so in this day and age, especially the past 4 years, what we all went through, and we don't have to get into it because we all know what we're talking about, the cancellation of people. The first person again that I thought of was you, Dee Snider, suicidal tendencies, and the whole thing with the PMRC, and that happened. That was like the 80s, early 90s, right? If I can remember correctly. So the whole cancellation thing, you're just probably watching this going, old news. How did you feel when that was going down? Because you experienced it 35 years before it all became popular.
Yeah. You know, I don't know where to begin on this. You've got to let young people be who they are. You've got to let young people find their own way in life. You know, it's a weird thing because this cancellation thing, it's not as big as it is.
No,
a lot of it is just blown out of proportion. It's clickbait. It's, you know, it's news. It's not news. It's news. It's not news. Most young people are beautiful, kind, living their lives, you know, trying to get ahead. And then there's this other social media TMZ bubble that's just raging off in the corner, and you continue, you know, turn out, you know, to that type of thing.
Right.
But yeah, when we went through that experience with the PMRC, it was tough because it was backed by very powerful political figures in Washington, D.C. And we knew straight off that this was just a political hack job. You know, these people had no clue about heavy metal. They had no clue about the joy and the pleasure and the good times that heavy metal music gives to people, and the goodness that it makes, and the positivity,
the unity it brings, and the good it brings.
They just went at it with a hatchet, you know. Yep. And I love my friend Dee Snider, because he went in there and did a great job.
Yeah, he fought for all of us.
He did.
Sure did.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's not new on us, Ralph. It's not new on us, Fuzz. As you get older, you get wiser, don't you? And you figure out what's important and what's not important. Yeah. What I do think is unfair, particularly for younger people, is that younger people are so inexperienced to a great extent on how to deal with their feelings and how to deal with being bullied and attacked on social media. And it can be very damaging. You know?
Agreed. At the same time, right. Agreed. At the same time, when all of this was going down, you know, coming up from 1969, you know, you had to get played on the radio. Most of you got made your way just by being great touring bands and word of mouth, and maybe hopefully you get a newspaper, and then the MTV generation, because that's where I'm from, and that's where I first saw, you know, Breaking the Law and Heading Out to the Highway, and you know, everything else from there on out when I was a kid. But you had that, and now you go from that, and you were fortunate enough to be played on the radio, and of course to be played on MTV and to become regular on there. That made things great for you. But now there's the internet. So you had a point where everything was great, but now I believe bands like Judas Priest, and when a legendary metal band releases an album, it gets drowned out with the internet. What's your take on that? Because I see you are very active on social media. I see you run your own accounts. You're out there, taking pictures, just being the metal god, and just being a grown man and just having a good time. And that's what's cool. Was it a hard, I guess, transfer or something to adapt to?
It was a slow transition, really, when you think about it, because it took pretty close to 10 years for this band to get real solid traction. We worked our asses off for 10 years, non-stop,
right,
to get to a place where we got some attention. And then you have to work even harder to maintain that attention. Because even in the 80s, at the start, the British Steel, the new wave of British heavy metal was getting traction here in America. All of these different bands were picking up. Radio was turning to more hard rock and metal. MTV, as you say, was making its face and voice heard to a good extent, really, because I think a lot of bands, including Priest, benefited from
absolutely
MTV.
Yeah,
absolutely. So again, that's not lost on us. At the heart of it is rock and roll radio. You guys they've always been there. You guys have never gone out of fashion. So it can never be stated enough how important rock and roll radio is. It's a vital part of who we are in maintaining the connection. Rock and roll radio will never go out of fashion.
Yeah, that's about it. I just want to, I know Fuzz has one or two more questions, but what do you do for like on tour fun? I mean, it must seem to be redundant day after day. Do this. Okay, you're off tomorrow, Rob. Oh, goody, day off. You have 9 interviews to do, and you're going to talk to some guy, Ralph and Fuzz, up in Albany, New York. So, do you ever get a minute to yourself, especially when it's touring season?
Yeah, you do, and it's important. It's important. It's important to be able to take what I call a FaceTime break.
Right.
Especially in bands, because bands are brittle. Bands are made of glass. I don't care how heavy you think you are. Bands are breaking up. People are leaving. People are coming back. It's nuts. So you have to find balance and harmony for your own bit of self-love.
Right.
So when I get to my hotel room, like I'm at today, I won't see anybody. I'll just turn everything off and I'll just do my chats to you guys and chill. I've got some AC that works. It's a pretty quiet hotel, and so it's just nice to have that opportunity to recharge and again to think about the next show that you got to do and the next bunch of Priest heavy metal maniacs that have been waiting for you to come back. And
May 21st, you're going to be here, and it's almost a week or so away to the MVP Arena. If you guys need tickets, you can go to livenation.com and pick up your tickets. Of course, we just started our Invincible ticket giveaway this morning, and we'll be giving away tickets for the next 5 or 6 days or so. So stay tuned to 93.9 WABY. Fuzz, did you have one last question before we let the metal god get on with his godly things he needs to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you one more. We already talked about you had said something about Sad Wings of Destiny being one of your favorites, so I'll kind of skip over that. Do you have a favorite song that you like to perform on stage?
Oh yeah, Victim of Changes. I think we'll be playing that. I love that song. It's just got all the elements of metal. He's got the 2 twin guitars that creep in, and he's got the sledgehammer riff. It's got this great verse, chorus type of vibe that's going through. Then it breaks down into like a quiet piece, and then it comes roaring back to a really climactic screaming ending. So it's got all of these different varieties of and emotions of a great metal track. So I never tire of doing that personally. It's a real highlight in the show, and the fans love it when those 2 guitars start. The place lights up. So it's good.
Now I did hit up when I did the interview with Richie. I did hit him up shamelessly. He had guitars on the wall, and I told him I can make room back here if he wants to put one up. this green V right here, I think would look great with a Rob Halford leather jacket right hanging off the top of it. You know what I mean? So
would this be considered fanning out, or would this be like bribing the metal god?
right here. And I'm gonna take it.
It's a good collection. Did Richie put any bids in there, Fuzz?
No, but he did pull his shirt down and show me that the scar on his chest looks like the Judas Priest cross, which was kind of cool.
It's like a branding.
It is too.
Plus, he has a metal heart. He probably told you his heart's got all these metal components.
That's right. That's right.
You know, he's remarkable. Guys, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much. I've had a good time.
Thank you, Rob.